Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. This is Instant Movie Reviews with Raina and Drew. I'm Drew.
I'm Raina.
And we have a special video for this installment as well. What's happening today?
Well, Elevation Pictures came to our rescue once again with an early access to go see Dangerous Animals, which is kind of cool because I brought this film up to Drew like a month or two ago and I said like, gosh, that looks like so interesting, but I wonder if it'll get a limited release, or I wonder like what kind of promotion they'll do for it. And I was kind of hoping when I started seeing the promotion that we might get on the roster for free tickets, and we did.
We did. Woo, our second one. No director this time, so we're not going to embarrass ourselves by like being
we're
weird.
Still going to embarrass ourselves just for the internet, is all.
But no directors and cast members bombarding my vehicle while we're trying to record the review afterwards.
Yeah, I think we've been invited as like a batch of like influencers kind of thing. So they want us to see the movie and, you know, post a review, post pictures, post to our socials, that kind of thing, because it is Monday and the film doesn't come out till Friday. So we have like a full week to kind of turn this around and get people interested. But the premise of this, as far as I can tell from the trailer, is like a serial killer whose unique method of killing in Australia is feeding people to sharks, which sounds ridiculous and like it could be like a B movie premise, like Snakes on a Plane or something. But when you watch the trailer, it's actually pretty freaking creepy.
It goes a lot harder than I expected it to. When I first heard the title of this movie, I thought it was going to be like that movie that came out a couple years ago, Crawl.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be purely a creature feature, or like Anaconda and those kinds of films, which I've never been super into, but I really did enjoy Crawl more than I expected to. And you add a little bit of a serial killer in here, and I think he's also filming it for like snuff film, so it's a whole bunch of different like horror-esque things.
And the actress really well known. His name is Jai, and I can't think of what
Courtney.
Courtney Jai, yeah, and or Jai Courtney. I said it backwards. Jai Courtney, and he's been in a ton of stuff and a ton of like action films and stuff and sci-fi films and everything. And he looks different in this. Like I didn't recognize him at first because in this film he's kind of like this burly guy. One of the other actors too. So like Jai's like our age, and one of the other actors is about 10 years younger. He's got the dark hair and blue eyes, and I can't think of his name because he's a new actor to me, but I'll put it up on the screen. I just saw this guy in the Dune prequel. So there was a Dune prequel TV show, which I loved more than the movies. I thought it was so good. And this actor was in it, and he was brilliant in that show. So
see, I didn't realize I thought it was like mainly female victims. I didn't realize there was other males besides
I don't
Jai
know.
Courtney.
I don't know. There are quite a few more cast members than I was expecting. And this guy is a bit of a face. So I don't think he's going to be like a background couple of sentences kind of dude. Maybe
he's not going to be like the Stranger Things dude in Legend of Ochi.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe, who knows?
Maybe.
So yeah, I'm curious, and I mean, I think it might be to pull in younger audiences too. And I can't even remember the poor guy's name, but in my defense, he's in his 20s, and I'm almost 40. So now Jai, I know because I've seen him in other things, but he does, like, I'm used to him being kind of like this jovial Australian who's ready to kick ass.
Wasn't he Captain Boomerang in the Suicide Squad? I'm pretty sure he was.
Oh my gosh, I think you might be right. Yeah. So I kind of like see him like that. And in this, he looks very foreboding in this. Like he has a presence that is creeping me out.
He looks scary.
He looks scary. But we're somewhere different today, Drew.
Yes. So these invitational screenings are at the movie theater in one of the malls in downtown, which we don't normally go to. And last time we came up onto the roof of this parking garage to film our intro before Sharp Corner, and I thought it'd be nice to get a little bit of our famous hill in the background. I'm not going to necessarily say what the name of it is.
But it's a famous hill.
You can kind of see. We were hoping to film outside, but as usual, even though it's sunny and looks nice, it's windy, and we wouldn't be able to film outside. So
yeah, it's really frustrating. I just knew that it would make it difficult to hear us and the microphones and everything. And also, it's like this weird hot and cold. Like it's hot when there's no wind, and then when the wind blows, it's freezing.
Maybe we'll get some B-roll of it before we head down to the movie.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, like, I'm looking forward to this. There's a lot of movies I want to cram in the next few weeks. We just saw Lilo and Stitch. Loved that, but didn't do a review because it was a bit late in the game by the time we got to see it.
It's been already out for a week, so why bother?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't necessarily have anything against us doing later reviews. It's just, it's very heavy on my time for the editing until I have time to teach Drew. And it's really difficult difficult for me to do too many in a row. And then I have my mermaid channel. I'm also trying to put videos out on that, and I actually have gigs coming up. We're coming into my busy season, so I'm busy with that. But Drew, we have been talking to an artist about a logo.
We have.
And we're also hoping to do a little intro video for our audience so that you get to know us. So those are kind of things we have on the docket coming up. We haven't gotten to them yet because we're both like crazy busy lives. we're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, any other thoughts about this movie? Did you watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer for this one, not really by choice. It played before one of the movies we went to see.
That's
so
right.
Instead of looking away, I was like, I'll watch this because I had a feeling we'd probably end up seeing it. I think it looks good. I hope it's not too gross. I know I always say that, like, I'm the worst horror fan in the world. Like, I'm always like, oh, I hope it's not too much. Then it's always fine. But I don't know, like, the creature aspect of this makes me slightly leery, but we'll see.
Yeah, like, I really love The Meg, which wasn't necessarily a horror. I wasn't a huge fan of The Meg 2, but The Meg 1 was fantastic. And I get on the fence about the big evil shark movies, you know? Like,
also with all the aquatic stuff that you have knowledge of, the sharks are not evil.
Right, sharks. I swam with sharks for my 30th birthday. Like, I don't like them being demonized because people do go out and then just blanket kill them and fin them, and it's really terrible. Yeah. We need sharks for our ecosystem.
But I won't watch The Boys because of all the marine animal violence in that. So I'm hoping that this movie isn't too brutal to the sharks either. That sounds weird, where I should be worried about these poor women being kidnapped by the serial killer, but I'm worried a little bit about the sharks too.
What I've seen from the trailers made the sharks seem very realistic. Like, a lot of times when you're watching horror movies that feature a shark, the shark is like moving weird and like they seem like they're sentient and very like sentient like humans and like stalking their prey or whatever. That's not how they work in real life. I have mermaid friends. Like, if you look up my friend Hannah Fraser, she has these underwater performances with sharks, and like they get too close to her and she literally just boops them on the nose and pushes them away. And it's like big sharks and she's just like boop. So I'm just gonna tell these victims, just boop the nose.
Maybe they should boop Courtney on the nose too. Maybe
boop.
That'll work.
Anyway, we'll see. This is a bit of a long intro because it's nice to catch up with everybody. If you hadn't had a chance yet, please check out our Final Destination review, Bloodlines. We saw that for Drew's birthday. It's not getting as much love as we would like. I had a terrifying moment on the drive over here where a tow truck was pulling a semi-truck, and it was the biggest tow truck I've ever seen, and this semi-truck, and then another semi-truck was like behind it, I think in order to like keep the traffic. And I was like, this is literally like the movie. I'm expecting trees to fly off. But then did you hear that a ceiling in a cinema caved in during one of the showings and a woman died?
Yeah.
Like, holy
I didn't know she died.
Oh, I think I read she died. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll put it up here. I hope she's okay. I hope she didn't die, but
hopefully.
Maybe it's just clickbait, but still, that's ridiculous. Like, oh man. So that was a good one. And check out our review. And you just sent me a screenshot today that it's broke like crazy.
It's over 200 million now. It is the highest grossing in the entire franchise. Final Destination 7 is a guarantee now. So hopefully we don't have to wait 14 years for that.
Yeah. Anyway, we've talked too much. We're going to go see the movie now.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. I need like a sedative after that movie. I need to like chill. That was very stressful. That was a stressful watch for me. How about you?
It went harder than I expected it to.
It was definitely not B movie. It was, no. I would say, one of the better put together kind of slasher style horror movies, even though the guy's not a slasher technically, but like I would definitely say that it was a bit more put together and scarier than something like Heart Eyes, you know?
Oh,
like, like I watch these kind of movies with the killer and whatever, and they don't tend to scare me often, but this had a few good jump scares that really got me. But maybe we should give some trigger warnings first.
Yeah. So, does it count as a spoiler if I say that if you're worried about animal violence, that's not really in this?
Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about animal violence, but there is a lot of
violence perpetrated by animals.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
And it's believable gruesome. So it's not like when you see these dumb slasher movies where the blood is spouting everywhere or the shark bites someone's head off or something. Like, it's very believable and foreboding, and it's realistically gory. A little bit like what was that James Franco movie where he takes his own arm off kind of thing?
Oh god, I didn't even see that. I knew I couldn't handle that one.
Nobody takes an arm off, but like, you know, that kind of like high tension, like that's kind of what you're dealing with. And then I don't know, if you're not into sex scenes, like there's a sex scene right in the beginning that kind of caught me off guard.
Involving very pretty people.
Yeah, I mean, there was something for both of us. So, but yeah, so you don't have to worry about violence against animals. But if you're squeamish or nervous, like it is pretty gory. And I would also just kind of say, like, you know, it does focus a lot on the trauma around being a kidnapped victim kind of thing. And if you find that triggering, it may not be the movie for you, because it has a lot more depth than just like, oh no, here comes Jaws.
Yeah. There's not a ton of deaths in this movie, but the characters that are sort of your main victims, it's not fun. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Final Destination Bloodlines in that, like, they make you care about the characters, so when bad stuff happens to them, it hits that much harder. Like, the very first scene involving the serial killer and the shark, I was like, this is far less fun than I was perhaps led to believe from the trailer. This is a lot more sad.
I turned to Drew and I was like, I don't want this person to die. I don't want them to die. And I was like rooting for them, and it was really hard. From like an animal and an underwater kind of videography kind of standpoint, I was quite impressed with how they handled the sharks for about 99% of the movie. Very believable. The footage they took was really good.
Except for that 1%.
Except for 1%. But it wasn't like Deep Blue Sea.
No.
But the one scene, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not even going to say which part it is in the movie. The movie had me for so much of it, just had me hooked. Pun intended, I guess. and just kind of like this one pivotal scene was just too out there in CGI for me, and it took me out of it.
Nothing else felt CGI, so when that moment happened, I was like, that was a choice.
Yeah, and I feel like instead of being so overt, they could have maybe actually dialed that one back, and it would have been scarier if it was more subtle, like a little more build up. But in terms of like the acting and everything, what'd you think of Jai?
So he was intense. Again, the only thing that I know for sure that I've seen him in was the Suicide Squad as Captain Boomerang, and if I recall correctly, his character dies almost immediately in that movie. So I've never really seen this guy. I'm sure if I go on Wikipedia and look at his filmography, I'll be like, oh, I've seen more than I thought that I did with him in it. But he's an interesting mix of like charismatic in some scenes, very disgusting in other scenes, very silly and funny in other scenes. It was sort of a multi-layered performance for him.
But I think he was a very believable serial killer. The thing is they never look like what you think they're going to look like. They're very charming. They blend in. They put you at ease right away.
Well, this is the second horror movie set in Australia that I can remember with a very charismatic but also incredibly evil villain, and the other one I'm thinking of is Wolf Creek, which I mentioned to you. For those of you who have seen Wolf Creek, this does not go into that area of like sadistic torture that Wolf Creek did, but it's a similar flavor between the villain in that movie and the villain in this movie in terms of how, again, just affable and charming and goofy he can sometimes be, and then terrifying in other scenes.
Yeah. I found him really, like, it's going to be one of these things where if I see him in anything else in the future, I'm going to flash back to this role. Yeah. It's a little too good. Like, just a little too good. And I like that they played into like Australia, you know, like he was very Aussie and he's taking people out. And so like the premise of this is this guy takes people out on boat tours, takes them out to swim with the sharks, that kind of stuff. But he targets the transients, the people who are like traveling by themselves or solo, the tourists, but not like like tourists who will be missed. Like tour, you know. So and he takes like pieces of their hair as a trophy and turns it into fly fishing stuff. And it's so funny because when you see this stuff on paper, it's like, oh, that's so tropey and like that's not gonna work, it's not gonna be scary. It was so scary at parts. There was a few jump scares that got me good, and so much of it was the audio.
The audio was really good. The soundtrack was very industrial, lots of clanging and banging and sounds, and it just lent itself to a very unsettling mood, but it also kind of sounded like the metal clanging sounds you would hear just out in a rickety old boat on the sea.
Yeah, and I like that they actually didn't make sounds for the sharks, because a lot of times movies add sound, and when I swam with sharks, it's so dumb to like admit this, but what struck me was how quiet the experience was, because we're so conditioned from movies and TV to think that you're going to like hear the shark sneaking up on you or you're going to sense it. And when I swam with sharks, like they would come by you so close and you'd have that big eye looking at you. And there's a couple scenes in this film where they show that perspective of the sharks. And I'm like, man, they got that. Like they really nailed it. They nailed it.
I want to take a moment to talk about our main female character.
Yeah, Zephyr.
I am very impressed with this character. I'm very impressed with the actress who played her, and the amount of just absolute horrific things that she goes through in this movie. At one point you turned to me and you were like, this girl just can't catch a break.
Yeah.
But tough as nails. I'm very impressed that you know, we've had other strong female characters in horror movies. Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis is the classic example, but just the fact that this woman is such a badass and is never a victim.
But also, it's not like some of these poor written characters where they're like real arrogant and it's just like they're not scared at all. Like it does a really good balance of showing that, yeah, she's freaking scared, but she's using it to fuel her. And even, you know, as a transient person who maybe doesn't feel like they have roots anywhere or like a whole lot to even motivate them to keep going, it's like that primal urge of survival. So she's like a really well written kind of final girl. Like,
and I really liked the male character. Again, very pretty to look at. There are a lot of shirtless scenes, which I appreciated.
He was good.
He was good. The role that he played in this was different than I was expecting. At one point, I thought the movie was going in a direction that I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And then they flip it on its head, and I was like, okay, I do like that.
Yeah, I was the same way. At one point, I looked at Drew, and I was like, this better not go this way, or I'm going to get annoyed. But it didn't. It didn't go that way. The cast had really good chemistry. Everybody was like feeding off each other really well. They had like one funny little side character who has his own little thing, and I joked with Drew like he has a dog, and I feel like that's like a signature of shark movies lately, is like the one little yippy dog. Like remember in
and
the
nothing bad happens to the dog.
Nothing
Again,
bad
don't worry, the dog is fine.
But I just think it's funny. Like that's a thing that keeps popping up in these movies. I felt like there was a couple shots that felt to me like homages to other horror movies. And so there was a scene that reminded me of the opening of It Follows. And I was like, oh yeah, I could see that. And then I felt like there were a couple homages to Jaws and things like that in there. And just like
maybe even a little bit of Crawl.
Yeah, I mean, the scenes when she's trying to climb out and everything, that made me think of Crawl too. I don't know if they were thinking of that movie specifically, but it's definitely, I don't even know if you could call it a creature feature.
I was just about to say that. Like, at first I thought that the sharks were going to play an equal role in this, but I'd say it's more of a serial killer thriller.
Yeah. Like this guy has a whole thing going on in his head about sharks and predators and everything. But again, it's not that cliched thing, you know, like you watch CSI and it's like the serial killers, like the shark, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not that kind of stupid pandering thing. Like this guy has like a real head case going on. And I don't want to say why, because it's part of the movie and you'll find all that. But yeah, it was it was well attended too. Like we had a lot of people in there. We got to sit in the VIP reserved seats. Insert picture here. And now it's kind of cool. And then everybody else in the audience were people who like won tickets. And I actually recognized some people coming in, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I know these people from freediving. And then I realized that they probably got free tickets to the scuba shop. They probably sent free tickets to the scuba shop.
That makes sense.
And we had a moment after the film. You want to tell them?
Yeah, so the person who's sort of administering the giving out the passes or the tickets or whatever, we mentioned the channel, and she was like, oh yeah, you're the guys who do it in the car. And I was like, we've been noticed.
Senpai noticed us. Yeah, it was just really cute. Like we, this channel's small, it's growing, it's an active love. Sometimes the videos get 100 people viewing them. Sometimes they get half that. And it may not seem like a lot of views in the grand scheme of YouTube, but that's 100 people that took the time to watch our video and our funny outtakes and things. So it means a lot. It means
almost
a lot.
200, I think.
Yeah, we're getting close, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's like, man, it is. Yeah, sharp corner. That was a good one.
What I liked about this screening too is that you could tell that everyone was kind of there for the same reason. And like there was a little bit of, we chit-chatted with a couple of people on the way out and asked them what they thought of the movie. It seemed like this screening was filled with more movie people than the Sharp Corner screening was. And I felt that energy where I was like, the film geek energy is very strong in this room right now.
I chatted with a guy at the beginning who had an ET shirt on, and we were like swapping interesting stories and talking about how I was terrified of ET. And it is funny though, there was a girl in the bathroom, and I was next to her washing my hand, and she was like, that was just awful. And I was like, but I don't think she meant the film was bad. I think she meant like it was a really awful experience to watch.
if this is not the kind of movie that you're into, though, I think people who aren't, that this isn't for, I think really wouldn't enjoy it. Like, I know my partner would have absolutely despised that.
Oh yeah, mine too. But there was a lot of good detail into it. A lot of good detail. Like you see this guy's ritual, like, and even just the set, like his boat was so grimy and like very, like Drew said, industrial, and it gave you a bit of a claustrophobic feel.
You could smell the grease.
You could smell it. Yeah. And then I just like, I think it's funny that this guy is like moonlighting as like taking people out to go on tours. And it's funny because at one point he sings Baby Shark, and I'm just losing it with Drew because I sing that like every day with my toddler, and then they made it scary. I'm never gonna listen to Baby Shark the same way again.
So overall, what would you give that?
So I'm having trouble with it. I'm having trouble, truly. It's definitely better for me than many of the horror films we've seen over the past few years. I loved so much of it, but I wanted something different from the ending. Like the ending was satisfying, but I feel like they build it up. I hate when movies do this. Like you're building up towards the ending so much, and then the ending is maybe wrapped up in 5 minutes, and you're like, but I have been waiting for this. So I kind of wanted more from the ending, and there were some aspects of the ending that pulled me out of it. And I don't want to say it was a bad ending, but I'm like hovering between 7.5 and an 8. Like I'm having trouble. What about you?
Here we go, agreeing again. If it wasn't for that one scene with the questionable CGI and another plot point that I found a little contrived, it would have been up in between an 8 and a 9 for me. But then those little things, and it came just at the very end. I was so totally jiving with this until the very end, and then it slides down. I think I'm between 7.5 and 8 again, purely just because of the couple of aspects towards the end that didn't work as well for me, which is a shame because but for those, it would be a higher rating for me.
And, I feel like Drew and I maybe have a particular taste because we watch a lot of horror movies and thrillers and stuff like this. That's not to say that you would watch it and be bothered by the same things we're bothered by. I don't want to call us snobs, but we're getting there. Like we are getting there because we're seeing so many films, right? So I think it's still definitely worth seeing. And I think as long as you can handle like consistent dread, definitely go for it in the movie theater. But if you think that that's going to be too stressful an experience for you, you might find it easier to watch it at home.
Or if seeing women in peril is something that you find troubling because, the women in this movie go through it.
Yeah. there's nothing sexual in terms of bad things that happen to them, so you don't have to worry about that.
There's only happy sex.
Yeah, so I was a little worried about that. I don't like seeing that stuff, and I find it a very overused plot point, and I get frustrated with that. So thankfully there's nothing like that. But I do think it's worth seeing, and I think you'll enjoy it. And we do want to say thank you to Elevation Pictures for giving us the tickets to come, and they told us that we'll get to come to the next one. So that's great. So they're like distributing, they have the rights to distribute a lot of the films in Canada. So that's pretty cool, and I hope we get to keep seeing things. But yeah, do you think it's worth seeing on the big screen?
I do. But I think you could also watch it at home and still enjoy it just as much. I did like some of the shots on the bigger screen, but I don't think that you would necessarily lose anything if you're seeing it at home. As long as you pay attention to it.
It was very immersive for me until the ending. Like I was really stressed for those characters. I was invested. I was like watching it like this. There's a couple times Drew and I are like this, because of what's happening.
One scene in particular, I was just like, nope, not watching that.
Noping out. Yeah, there is one pretty brutal scene. Yeah, it was a stressful watch, and it's a fast movie. It's only an hour and a half, so you get a little bit of preamble in the beginning so that you know who the characters are and their motivations, and then there's no filler in this movie. It's a bit exhausting to watch it. Like it's bam, 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 get ready for adrenaline 24/7. Yeah. 24/7. And the very first jump scare kind of comes out of nowhere too. And it's not a shark. It gets you. You're like, oh my God. And like everybody in the audience, like I heard multiple people. I heard popcorn go flying.
Yeah. So that's one thing I would say about seeing in the theater too, because there are a couple of scenes where I made a noise out loud. I could hear other people make a reactive noise out loud, like when some of the harsher stuff happens. It is kind of fun to feed off that energy. So yeah, that kind of bumps
there was some very well-timed humor too. Just a little bit sprinkled throughout, just enough to take the edge off.
So that it's not constant dread and misery.
Yeah, and everybody did laugh. Like I found the humor really good. There was a joke in it in the middle that I was just like, that's a great joke. Yeah. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Come on out and watch it. And we would love to hear your thoughts if you do. We're seeing it on a Monday. I'm going to try to turn this review around as quickly as I can, so that it's on the internet before the film comes out on Friday. But definitely go see it. It's coming out on World Oceans Day weekend.
I'm sure that was intentional.
But please like and subscribe. Click the bell if you want to get notifications in your email. Drew's also been sharing some pictures on our community tab if you want to check that out. And we just really love hearing from you.
All right, so we'll leave it at that for now. I'm going to get us off the roof of this parking garage, and
it's dark and scary now. Man, crazy serial killer's gonna feed me to sharks.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See you at the movie.